Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third session on India-Pakistan relations. Today, we are going to cover one very important aspect of India-Pakistan relations, and that is in the Indus Water Treaty. Most of the candidates do know about Indus Water Treaty, but they don't know the finer points. Through today's session, I'll even help you understand how you should study international treaties, not just water treaties, but any international treaty. So let's first understand why Indus Water Treaty is extremely important. What is its significance? The first thing is it's absolutely vital for Pakistan's survival. It sustains the bulk of its agriculture, underpins a significant share of GDP, and provides water security for tens of millions of people. Without it, Pakistan's economy and daily life would face severe disruption. Just to give you an understanding, 90% of Pakistan's agriculture is supported because of the water they get through this Indus Water Treaty, because of this Indus Water Treaty. And 20% of Pakistan's GDP comes from agriculture. So in a way, roughly 20% of Pakistan's GDP they earn because of the Indus Water Treaty. The second thing is it supports a population of roughly 200 million in Pakistan, which is roughly 80% of Pakistan's population. So that is the significance of Indus Water Treaty. Agricultural contribution, around 90% of Pakistan's agriculture depends on irrigation from the Indus River system secured under the treaty. The Indus Basin irrigation system is the largest contiguous irrigation system in the world, covering about 16 million hectares of farmland. Now, again and again, guys, I have emphasized that whenever you talk about any topic, you should be very thorough with the numbers related to that particular topic. So please make sure that you memorize, you learn as many facts and figures about the topics which I'm teaching you, or even about the topics which you will study on your own. You learn the facts and figures related to that particular topic nicely. Only then you will be able to make a difference in your performance. Otherwise, you will just come across as any other candidate. You will not really be very impressive in front of the board. So crops like wheat, rice, sugarcane, and cotton, which form the backbone of Pakistan's food supply and exports, rely almost entirely on Indus waters. Agriculture contributes roughly 20% of Pakistan's GDP, and this sector is overwhelmingly dependent on Indus waters. Indirectly, industries such as textiles, which account for over 60% of Pakistan's exports, also rely on cotton grown with Indus irrigation. Thus, the treaty safeguards not just farming but also foreign exchange earnings and industrial output for Pakistan. It is very, very important for Pakistan. No doubt, it is important for India as well. We'll study it in great detail in today's session. But for Pakistan, it's practically their lifeline. The Indus River Basin supports over 300 million people across Pakistan and India, and out of these 300 million, 200 million are Pakistani. In Pakistan alone, estimates suggest more than 200 million people rely on Indus waters for daily life, making it the country's primary lifeline. The treaty ensures predictable water flows despite political tensions, preventing conflict over a resource that is existential for Pakistan. We have had conflicts in the past. We had the 65 war, 75 war, 99 war, and still we never abrogated this treaty. We never made any changes, unilateral changes to this treaty. So this ensures a very predictable water flow, which helps Pakistan plan everything properly. So it is very beneficial for Pakistan. Any disruption would threaten food security, economic stability, and social resilience given the sheer scale of dependence. It is the most generous water treaty in the world, guys. There's nothing that comes even second close to it. It is the most generous water treaty. In fact, a lot of analysts criticize India that India gave away just too much in this treaty, and we will study it in detail. Now, first, we'll go through an overview of this treaty. Then we will study the finer points about the water allocation. Then we'll study about the Permanent Indus Commission, which is a feature of this treaty. then we'll study World Bank's role, then we will study the disputes which have been there between India and Pakistan related to this treaty, and in the end we'll study about the criticisms and suggestions. So let's move to the overview part. The Indus Water Treaty was signed in 1960. It is a landmark water sharing agreement between India and Pakistan, brokered by the World Bank. It divides the control of the Indus River system and sets rules for usage, development, and dispute resolution. So we are going to study about usage also, development also, and dispute resolution also. Okay. Main points of the Indus Water Treaty, signed on 19 September 1960 in Karachi by Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Pakistani President Ayub Khan, with World Bank as the guarantor. World Bank has a very, very critical role even today in this deal. It has a permanent role in this deal, in fact. Okay, we'll see how, especially in the financing of major development projects in Pakistan, as well as in dispute resolution. It is the final authority. It is the deciding authority, you can say. Okay, I'll help you understand about it. Now, divisions of the river. Under this treaty, eastern rivers like Ravi, Beas, and Satluj were allocated to India for exclusive use, and western rivers, that is Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, were allocated to Pakistan with limited usage rights for India. So we will study what this means. What is this limited usage rights? Okay. India's rights on western rivers, non-consumptive usage such as irrigation, restricted hydropower generation without altering flow, and domestic use. We'll see all these points in detail. Just be a little patient. Cannot store or divert water in ways that harm Pakistan's share. So we cannot store or divert water in any way that will reduce the share of Pakistan. What is the share of Pakistan? We'll just see in a while. What is India's share? That also we'll see in a while. Uh, uh, for eastern rivers, Pakistan receives no direct allocation. India has full control. Okay. Now, under this treaty, India financed. Now, think about it. Most of the candidates simply don't know about it. India financed Pakistan's construction of canals, dams, and storage facilities to compensate for loss of eastern rivers. Think about it. We not only gave away water very generously, as we'll see in a while, but we even paid money to Pakistan so that they will be able to construct dams and canals in order to manage the loss of water because of the rivers which were exclusively allocated to India. India paid Pakistan a total of 174 million US dollars, which was about 100 crores at that time and equivalent to around 1.6 billion dollars today. Think about it. Under the Indus Water Treaty, to help finance canals, dams, and storage works that would replace the water Pakistan lost from the eastern rivers. So eastern rivers were allocated exclusively for India. So whatever loss it will have because of that, in order to compensate for that, whatever canals, dams, and other storage works it was required to carry it out, we gave money to Pakistan for that. Even World Bank arranged financing. We'll study in a while. To fund the construction of replacement infrastructure in Pakistan, including canals, dams, and reservoirs. This was a significant financial burden for India in 1960, reflecting the importance of ensuring Pakistan's water security. Guys, you must remember in 1960, India was a very poor country. Okay, even today we are not amongst the developed countries, but in 1960s we had just become independent in 47. We were still trying to sort of stand on our feet, and in that situation we ended up giving so much money to Pakistan for their betterment, and we all know what we got in return over the years. Okay, these projects allowed Pakistan to transfer water from the western rivers to areas that previously relied on the eastern rivers. World Bank's role. World Bank brokered the treaty and oversaw financial arrangements. So even World Bank played a role in arranging finances for Pakistan to carry out its development work of dams and canals. The World Bank organized a much larger financing package with contributions from several countries, including the US, UK, Canada, Australia, West Germany, and New Zealand. So which were the major projects which Pakistan constructed because of this financing? To talk about a couple of them, first will be Mangala Dam, which they constructed on Jhelum River in Mirpur district in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. In 1961, this construction started, and in 1967, the construction got completed. The second major dam they constructed because of this financing was the Tarbela Dam, which is on Indus River. It is in Haripur district, which falls in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region in Pakistan. In 1968, the construction started, and in 1976, the construction got completed. Uh, Apart from this, extensive canal systems to redistribute water across Punjab and Sindh in Pakistan's Punjab and Sindh. The final financial settlement was critical to Pakistan's acceptance of the treaty. Guys, please understand, we literally, it almost sounds like we had to beg Pakistan to accept this generous treaty. So we not only ended up giving three major rivers, but we ended up also giving a lot of money so that Pakistan will accept this treaty. Think about our big-heartedness, you know. Okay. A conclusion, India not only ceded the eastern rivers, but also paid US $174 million to Pakistan to build replacement water infrastructure. This payment, combined with international aid, enabled Pakistan to construct major dams and canals that remain central to its irrigation system. Okay. Now, the second aspect we must understand is the water allocation. It's a water treaty, right? So how much water Pakistan will get, how much water India will get. What about other requirements? We'll study that in detail now. Now, allocation of rivers, we already saw Pakistan got the three major western rivers, Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, and India on the other side got right of exclusive use to the eastern rivers of Ravi, Beas, and Satluj. Now, how much water Pakistan gets as a result of this every year? In the treaty, it gets around 135 to 140 million acre feet annually. That is how water is measured on a larger scale. It is not measured in liters. But if at all the interviewing officer asks you, or during the discussion, you have to talk about liters, then please understand 1 million acre feet is roughly equivalent to 1.233 trillion liters of water. Okay, so Pakistan gets nearly 135 to 140 million acre feet of water. How much does India get? You'll be shocked to know India gets just around 20%. This is 80% of the Indus system's total flow. So Pakistan gets 80% of the Indus river system's total flow, whereas India gets just 33 MAF annually. Pakistan gets around 135 to 140 million acre feet annually, which is 80% of the Indus system's total flow. And India gets just around 33 million acre feet annually, just 20%. Hence, critics have always said this treaty is very, very imbalanced, completely imbalanced, and completely in favor of Pakistan. It's a completely lopsided, one-sided kind of a treaty. Okay. So 20% of the Indus system's total flow is for India. Now, apart from it, does it mean India just cannot touch the waters of the rivers which have been allocated to Pakistan? No, there are provisions regarding it. Now, see, for storage and only for storage, India has a cap of around 3.6 MAF per year. So if we have any hydropower project, any kind of storage we want to do, okay, then the upper limit on that is of 3.6 MAF. It cannot exceed that. And even this eventually needs to be released to be sent to Pakistan. So what about the day-to-day requirements of our population? We'll just see in a while. Okay. Now see, domestic use. It is in the treaty, it is specified that domestic use means strictly limited to drinking, household needs, sanitation, livestock, and small community use. Now, there is no number specified in the deal regarding how much water India can take from the rivers which have been allocated to Pakistan. There is no number given for it. The term they have used is reasonable. Okay, it should be reasonable. India cannot use it on an industrial scale. but reasonably India should use in a very judicious manner. And for drinking, household needs, sanitation, livestock, and small community use, India can take water from the rivers which have been allocated to Pakistan in a reasonable and judicious manner. There is no number on it. Okay. All right. And when it comes to agriculture, we can also use it for irrigation. It's around 7 lakh hectares. I'll just talk about it in a while. Now, again, it explicitly excludes industrial scale consumption. Industrial scale means large scale consumption. So it has to be reasonable and judicious. Now, what about irrigation for agriculture? It permits India to irrigate nearly 7 lakh 1,000 acres of land using waters from the rivers which have been allocated to Pakistan. So if we want on our soil, that is within our country, we can irrigate up to 7 lakh 1,000 acres of land using waters from the rivers which have been allocated to Pakistan. Non-consumptive uses, hydropower generation, navigation, fisheries. For that, everything combined, the upper limit is 3.6 MAF, and that is mainly for storage. Must return water to the river without reducing Pakistan's share. So these are called run of the river projects, which means temporarily you can store it, you can divert it, you can use it in some other way, but in the end you need to ensure that it's released and it goes to Pakistan. So that is run of the river project. So India can construct run of the river projects. Safeguard and monitoring, India must notify Pakistan through the Permanent Indus Commission about any withdrawals or projects. So we must notify Pakistan. That is the legal requirement under this treaty. Permanent Indus Commission, we'll see its features in a while. Pakistan can raise objections if it believes India is exceeding limits. So Pakistan can raise objections. In fact, in the treaty, there is a complete mechanism in place regarding how we can raise objections, both the countries, Pakistan as well as India, and how we can address it. There is a step-by-step mechanism which is in place. I'll help you understand about it in a while. Disputes can escalate to neutral expert or court of arbitration under World Bank supervision. So just to give you an idea, if Pakistan has any objection or if India has any objection, the first thing we try to do is there is a permanent Indus commission. The provisions of which have been given in the treaty. There has to be one officer from the Indian side. There has to be one officer from the Pakistani side. They are required to meet once a year, alternately, once in India, then next year in Pakistan. So far, they have met nearly 117 times from the time this treaty was signed. If there are any objections, they will discuss mutually and try to resolve it. However, if they are not able to come to a mutually agreeable solution, then they will need to approach the World Bank. Okay, then what World Bank will do is, if it is related to a difference, there are two terms used in this treaty, guys: difference and dispute. Okay, if it is related to a difference means difference in terms of designs of projects, dams, barrages, then World Bank will appoint a neutral expert who will generally be from a civil engineering background, having enough expertise in international water management systems, and working for governments, trying to help them design policies related to water management. So World Bank will appoint a neutral expert. He will study everything and then he will give a verdict, and that will be binding on India as well as Pakistan. But when it comes to differences, so what is a difference? Sorry, what is a dispute? Dispute is when we have a different opinion about the clause in the treaty, about the interpretation of the treaty. Then a neutral expert will not be brought into the picture. Then it will go to a court of arbitration. I'll help you understand about this in detail in a while. So those are the mechanisms in place to ensure that there is a systematic solution given to such objections and such disputes which arise between both countries. A key observation, Pakistan benefits more in terms of volume because western rivers carry far greater flows. As I said already, it's a lopsided, one-sided kind of a deal. Pakistan is the major beneficiary. India's share is smaller but secure since it has full control over eastern rivers. So it is a small share, secure share, but 80% goes to Pakistan. The treaty has held for over 6 decades, even during wars, because it partitions the river system clearly. In fact, nowadays, international critics say that this partition element is where the whole problem is. It does not involve sharing and cooperating, it involves partition. India should have worked on sharing and cooperation. Okay. So disputes mainly arise when India develops hydroelectric projects on western rivers, which Pakistan fears could affect downstream flows. Till date, whenever there have been disputes between both the countries related to Indus Water Treaty, they have all been because of objections raised by Pakistan. India is an upstream country, so India has no reason to raise any objection. Whatever Pakistan will do in its own country will never harm India in any way. So we never raised any objection. Pakistan raised objections. So quick recap, Pakistan gets 80% of water from western rivers, which is roughly 135 to 140 million acre feet every year. And India gets 20%, that is 33 mf from eastern rivers, plus capped rights on western rivers, that is 3.6 mf for storage, no defined limit on domestic use, and 7,01,000 acres irrigation you can carry out. So safeguards ensure India's limited rights don't undermine Pakistan's dominant share. So that is about water allocation. Now, the next aspect we should study is related to the Permanent Indus Commission. Okay, so what is Permanent Indus Commission? It is one of the most important features of this treaty. The Permanent Indus Commission is the bilateral body created under the Indus Waters Treaty to ensure its implementation, resolve disputes, and maintain cooperation between India and Pakistan. It acts as the first line of dialogue before matters escalate to arbitration or international mediation. Main points about the Permanent Indus Commission: there will be one commissioner from India. Okay, right now it is Shri Ashish Kumar Pal, position Indus Commissioner of India since April 2022. He was previously posted at the CWC's Lucknow office, and he has worked extensively on hydrology, irrigation, and river basin management under Indian government. So it's someone who is very highly experienced in this field. Okay, generally the commissioner is always a very highly experienced person when it comes to water management and policy planning related to water management. Then from Pakistani side, currently the person who is the commissioner is Mr. Syed Mohammad Meher Ali Shah, commissioner in the Commissioner of Pakistan. He has also got expertise in engineering, legal frameworks, and public interest decision making, basically policy planning related to all this. Expertise in how large water and hydropower systems succeed or fail, emphasizing governance and institutional responsibility. So he's also a person who is highly experienced in this field. Academic and institution links associated with the Center of Excellence in Water Resources Engineering at UET Lahore. So this commission oversees the implementation of the treaty. They meet to exchange data on river flows, hydrological data, usage, and projects. They inspect sites and projects to ensure compliance, that everything is within the specified limits of the Indus Water Treaty. Resolve differences at the technical level before they escalate. As I said earlier, whenever there is any objection raised by Pakistan, or if there is anything worth discussing from India's side, first they try to resolve it amongst themselves. If at all they are not able to come to a mutually agreeable solution, only then things escalate to World Bank. Then required to meet at least once a year, alternately in India and Pakistan. 117 meetings have taken place so far ever since the treaty was signed in 1960. Meetings discuss new projects, objections, and hydrological data exchange. If disagreements arise, the Permanent Indus Commission is the first forum for resolution. If unresolved, issues can be referred to a neutral expert or taken to court of arbitration under World Bank supervision. So we first need to contact World Bank, then World Bank will appoint a neutral expert or take things to the court of arbitration. What is a court of arbitration? I'll just help you understand in a while. Meetings have sometimes been delayed due to political tensions, but the commission remains one of the few continuous channels of dialogue between India and Pakistan. So even when this Pulwama attack happened and all such episodes which have happened in the past, permanent in this commission has been in place. Okay, we have never abrogated the treaty. We have never unilaterally completely suspended it. That is one of the important things about this treaty. Challenges and criticism, politicization, technical discussions often get overshadowed by broader political disputes. Delays in resolution, many objections raised by Pakistan against Indian projects like Kishanganga and Ratle have dragged on for years. We'll study it in a while. Limited scope, the biggest problem with this Indus Commission, the permanent Indus Commission, is it cannot address larger issues like climate change, glacial melt, or renegotiation of treaty terms. It is bound strictly by the 1960 framework, by the text which was signed in 1960. So it cannot really change the terms of the treaty or the text of the treaty. Okay, so we already discussed this. Now we'll study about World Bank's role in this. Now World Bank has played a very major role, not just in the signing of this treaty, but even after that. World Bank's role acted as mediator during negotiations and remains a guarantor of this treaty. In fact, it is one of the biggest hurdles for India. India signed this treaty with World Bank as the guarantor, and because of which today, even if we want to withdraw from it, if we want to abrogate it, if we want to unilaterally suspend it, we are not able to do it because it will hit our credibility at the international level. That, in spite of signing a treaty where World Bank was the guarantor, we are now pulled out of it. So this is one of the roadblocks for a country like India. Now, the World Bank stepped in when India and Pakistan could not reach agreement bilaterally. So I've already explained that. That is the role of the World Bank. It facilitated dialogue, provided technical expertise, and helped bridge political differences. The bank coordinated with both governments to finalize the treaty text. Very, very important. Even when the treaty was signed, this World Bank was coordinating with the governments of India and Pakistan to formalize the text of the treaty. It ensured that the division of rivers, eastern to India, western to Pakistan, was technically feasible and internationally acceptable. So it was able to bring both the countries to an agreement. The World Bank is not a party to the treaty, but acts as a guarantor of its implementation. Please understand this very important point. It's not a party to the treaty, but acts as a guarantor of its implementation. It ensures that dispute resolution mechanisms like permanent Indus Commission, neutral expert, court of arbitration are activated when requested. The bank appoints neutral experts when technical disputes arise. It helps convene a court of arbitration when legal disputes escalate. For example, during the objections raised by Pakistan related to the Baglihar project, the World Bank had appointed a neutral expert, and the expert had given a verdict more or less in India's favor in year 2007. And Court of Arbitration had also, in fact, for Kishanganga project related dispute also, there are studies going on by international experts appointed by World Bank. We'll see that in detail. The bank provided funding and oversight for infrastructure projects in Pakistan to compensate for loss of eastern rivers. We already saw that. It ensured both sides had resources to adapt to the new water sharing arrangement. The bank's involvement reassures both countries that disputes will be handled impartially. So World Bank has more or less been impartial. That has been one of the key points. It prevents unilateral suspension or withdrawal from the treaty by either side. That's precisely what I was talking about. India is stuck. That's why a lot of critics say India is a prisoner of history. We signed this treaty. There is no room for renegotiation or revision. It is a treaty which is going to stay till the time planet Earth exists. And that's it. India has to pay this price. And pay this price in the sense it's a lopsided treaty. And even if we want, we cannot change it. World Bank is a guarantor of this, and it prevents unilateral suspension. I already told you about it. Our credibility is at stake if we try to abrogate it or suspend it unilaterally. So that is the role of the World Bank. Now, what about the disputes which have happened in the past between India and Pakistan? We'll study all the disputes. Now, between 1960s to 80s, early decades saw routine issues like data sharing related and project notifications handled almost entirely by the permanent Indus Commission. So there was no major problem, till 80s. Then no major escalation requiring neutral expert or court of arbitration during this time. It was in 1984 when India started working on a project, that was the Tulbul navigation project at Wula Lake, in order to ensure that the river Jhelum had enough water throughout the year for navigation purpose. That is when, for the first time, Pakistan raised an objection that no, this treaty is violating, this Tulbul project is violating the treaty. And that was the first time this happened. And it was handled at PIC level but remained unresolved for decades. In fact, in 1987, India suspended construction work of this Tulbul navigation project. Until date, India has not resumed it. In fact, even the Chief Minister Omar Abdullah, he had always spoken about it. A lot of political leaders in the past have spoken about it. So this is one project which never went to a neutral expert, never went to a court of arbitration. India just suspended the construction work due to Pakistan's objection. Then in the 90s, Salal Dam, another dispute. Technical objections were raised by Pakistan. India was constructing this dam on the Chenab River. Now, guys, please make sure, homework for you. Please study where these dams are, where these projects are, which district, which location. Because if you will talk about it during your SSB, during your personal interview, or during GD, you should know where this is. Okay, they might ask you about it. So the Salal Dam related issue resolved bilaterally via permanent Indus Commission with modifications to dam design. So this was resolved. Now, Baglihar hydroelectric project, Pakistan objected to design features of the dam. Okay, that it is violating the treaty. That is when Professor Raymond Lafitte of Switzerland, he is a civil engineer from Switzerland, he was appointed as a neutral expert by the World Bank. He studied everything related to this project, then everything related to the treaty. And then he gave his own verdict that India's design is not violating, but he suggested minor changes, and then we accepted that. So that was about Baglihar. Then we had Kishan Ganga project. Pakistan objected to diversion of water. This is a project which India has constructed on Jhelum tributary. Escalated beyond PIC and went to Court of Arbitration, which convened in The Hague. Now, what is a Court of Arbitration, guys? Court of Arbitration is not some sort of a permanent court the way High Court of India is and the Supreme Court of India is. Okay, it's an ad hoc body, a temporary kind of a body. Now, what are the arrangements of this Court of Arbitration? I'll help you understand in a while. To tell you briefly, it is supposed to have 7 members. 2 will be from India, eminent jurists. 2 from Pakistan, and 3 World Bank will appoint, experts from the field of judiciary. And then they will study this whole case and they will give a verdict, and that verdict will be binding both on India and Pakistan. So we are required to follow that, honor that, and obey that. Okay. So 2013 ruling allowed India to divert water but required minimum flow downstream to Pakistan. So this issue was resolved. Now this Ratal hydroelectric project, which India is constructing on Chenab, this is stuck in dispute. Okay, it is not resolved. Pakistan raised objections regarding the design of the project. World Bank appointed neutral expert Michel Lino in the year 2023. His findings are pending, so his verdict has not come in yet. Okay, that's why this issue is not completely resolved as of now. Now, just to help you understand again about what is Court of Arbitration under the Indus Water Treaty terms, not a permanent court, it's an ad hoc tribunal at a neutral venue. Not at all required that it should be in Hague only, it can be anywhere, but at a neutral venue. Composition, it will have 7 members, 2 Indians, 2 Pakistanis, and 3 neutral, generally facilitated by World Bank. So generally appointed by World Bank in that body. Neutral members are usually senior jurists or technical experts in water law and hydrology. Okay, so it's not as if anyone can go and become that neutral member out of those 7. You need to have a background and expertise in water law and hydrology. Uh, Jurisdiction handles disputes that go beyond technical differences, which are referred to a neutral expert. I already explained to you about difference and dispute. In this treaty, the term difference is used to talk about difference between India and Pakistan's opinion regarding the design of a new dam or a barrage or any such project which is going to involve physical construction. Dispute is related to the interpretation of the terms of the treaty. Okay, so the terms differ. Those are legal terms in this treaty. Then deals with legal or treaty interpretation issues, such as whether a project design violates treaty provisions. Once constituted, the Court of Arbitration conducts hearings, examines evidence, and issues a binding award. So it's a binding award. Whatever verdict it will give, it's binding on India as well as Pakistan. Its decisions are final and must be accepted by both India and Pakistan. Okay, so that was about the disputes, history of disputes related to Indus Water Treaty. Now, the last thing we'll study about this, criticisms and suggestions, because when you sit for group discussion or when you are talking to the interviewing officer about this treaty, he will definitely ask you about what we should do, what is your suggestion, so what should you say there. Now, first criticism of this treaty by international experts is its partition, not really sharing, whereas the treaty itself should have been formulated in such a way that it should have involved sharing of water and cooperation between India and Pakistan regarding how to share and how to work in a way that benefits both of them in a very fair manner. But the treaty is not cooperation based, it is partition based, 3 to you and 3 to us. And it's a completely lopsided, one sided kind of a treaty. It favors Pakistan in a major way. To India, it does not give that kind of benefit. Strategic disadvantage, Pakistan enjoys near exclusive rights over the western rivers, limits India's ability to use waters for irrigation and hydropower in its own territory. Okay, so there are limits on it for India. So that is a problem for India. Excessive diplomatic concessions. That is one thing all historians and experts say. India gave away just too much in 1960 under this treaty. It is counted as one of the things which probably Pandit Nehru should have reworked and probably should have come up with something better, which would have been fair to India as well and should have been balanced. It was a completely one-sided kind of a deal. Plus, we gave money also, as I've explained earlier. So it's not just that we gave water, we gave money also so that they'll be able to construct dams and canals. So excessive diplomatic concessions. Analysts note India conceded far more than necessary in 1960 under international pressure to secure peace. Outdated framework, the treaty does not account for modern challenges such as climate change, glacial melt, population growth, and advanced water management technologies. Things have changed a lot since 1960. India's population has grown, glaciers have melted, climate change, everything has happened. But this treaty does not have room for change or renegotiation or what you can call modification, improvement. Okay, we are just stuck with this text which was signed in 1960. So that is another problem. It has outdated framework. Limited flexibility. India can only build run of the river projects on western rivers with strict design constraints. This hampers hydropower potential and leaves projects vulnerable to Pakistani objections. Like we saw, one of the projects, that is the Tulbul navigation project, has got suspended in 1987. We have not resumed construction on it. And even now, one of the projects, the Ratal project, is stuck because of the pending verdict. Now, suggested improvements for the future, renegotiation for equity. Many argue India should push for a more balanced allocation that reflects its upper riparian position and growing water needs. So this is one of the things that we need to renegotiate it. We need to invite Pakistan to the discussion table, but we all know they will not do this. In fact, in their parliament, if you watch news and YouTube channels, you will watch, they are already complaining that India is not giving enough. They are already complaining. that India is not giving enough. And in fact, they are blaming India that India is using water as a weapon in spite of such a generous treaty. Okay, so it's good as a suggestion, but in reality, it looks highly unlikely this will ever happen. Then incorporating climate realities, updating the treaty to address glacial retreat, erratic monsoons, and water scarcity would make it more resilient. I'm sorry. Joint basin management, moving from partition to true sharing through cooperative flood control, irrigation planning, and hydropower projects could reduce mistrust. So this is one of the suggestions you can give. Hydropower flexibility, allowing India greater rights to develop hydropower on western rivers without constant disputes would strengthen energy security. India is hungry for energy. Any developing country is hungry for energy. The great Jamshedji Tata, if I'm not wrong, had once said that any country which wants to develop needs two things in great quantity. One is steel and one is power. That's why he worked a lot to establish TISCO, that is the Tata Iron and Steel Company in Jamshedpur. So hydropower is very badly needed by countries which really want to grow. And having these kind of restrictions on the Western River really hampers India's potential for developing hydropower. So periodic review, very, very important. All international treaties, whether you talk about trade treaty or any kind of water management or any other treaty, it is there for a limited time, or at least it has some provision for periodic review. Introducing a clause for regular renegotiation, for example, after every 25 years, could prevent the treaty from becoming obsolete. Regional integration, linking water cooperation with broader South Asian economic and environmental frameworks, could transform the treaty from a zero-sum arrangement into a win-win system. Risk and trade-off. Now, a lot of people, very, very important, guys, you must understand, whenever a big terrorist attack happens in India, which is orchestrated from Pakistan's side, we immediately start talking about abrogation, abrogation, abrogation. Okay, but what do we mean by abrogation? Let's say we actually abrogate this treaty and we say that we are taking our hands off. We are no longer going to abide by this treaty. But will it really make a difference on the ground in terms of the water which is flowing to Pakistan? No, it will not. First thing is, if you really want to stop that water flow to Pakistan in that sizable quantity, the kind of dams, the size of dams, the magnitude of dams, as well as the number of dams which you will have to construct, it will take at least 20 years. So it's not a tap which you can, turn off and on when you want. So first is that. Second is credibility loss. World Bank is the guarantor, and there were a lot of international bodies involved when this treaty was signed. Countries like New Zealand, USA, UK, they all supported this treaty financially so that Pakistan can build this network, as well as, I think, if I'm not wrong, to some degree, they even supported India. Although I'm not 100% sure about it. Okay, now we will lose our credibility if we abrogate this treaty. So we should push for negotiation. Geopolitical sensitivities. In order to discuss this, we need to be very, very careful in terms of our diplomacy. Now, what happens is, the moment any kind of terrorist attack happens, we immediately start, our experts on television, news channels, they immediately start shouting at the top of their voice that we should go ahead and abrogate this treaty and we should make Pakistan die thirsty. That kind of an attitude will never help in international negotiations and discussions. So careful diplomacy is needed. Implementation challenges. Even if reforms are agreed upon, building trust and ensuring compliance would be difficult given the history of disputes. So the level of trust between India and Pakistan, we all know, it's practically zero. So even if we agree to renegotiate, and even if we renegotiate in a proper manner, the level of trust required to go ahead with it, that is another barrier. In conclusion, the consensus among critical voices is that the Indus Water Treaty disproportionately favors Pakistan, constrains India's development, and is outdated. The path forward lies not in unilateral withdrawal, but in modernizing the treaty into a fair, flexible, and cooperative framework that reflects today's reality. So that brings us to the end of today's session. I hope you found the video informative. Please like the video and please share it with all your friends who are preparing for SSB. Tomorrow, we have a very important session coming up on personal interview at 9 p.m. Please make sure you join us for that. Subscribe to the channel so that you'll get notified. Join our WhatsApp community so that you will get informed in advance regarding the important sessions coming up. We will even be having psychology sessions live in the coming days. Plus, those of you who want to read the sample chapters of our TAT, VAT, and SRT book can visit our website, ssbpsychologybooks.com. Right now, we are offering the digital access of TAT and SRT book at 20% discount. Plus, we are giving the digital edition of VAT book totally free with it. So you can take benefit of it. Link for that has been given in the description. So that was all for today. I'll stop here for now. Please take very good care of yourself and enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll see you tomorrow in the personal interview live session. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.